All right. So we have Premiere, and remember you have a new folder for your project. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and call mine. Actually, I'm going to call it correctly. It's your period number underscore your last name underscore news story. And you guys really need to get in the habit of doing this, because when I start downloading things from Canvas to look at, when it doesn't have a proper name, I don't know what it is. I don't know who it belongs to, because I wind up downloading them all at the same time, and I have no idea who it is. Okay. So the next thing I'm doing, remember, is I am looking for the folder where I am going to be saving it. So I made my folder called News Story. I am saving Premiere into News Story. And then I hit Create. Create. Sometimes it wants to take its own time. There we go. Okay. Now, I always start in the editing workspace, because that gives me the source monitor up on the left, the project monitor up on the right, the timeline, the bin, and my tools. Okay. This is what you have to do. Obviously, you're going to need to import your footage. And at the moment, you only have one thing to import, right? And you may have to find your news story the first time you want to import, but there it is. Manon, I'm using yours, okay? And there it is. Now, remember, you can double click and you can trim things. Trim things up here. You can also trim things here. And yes, you do need to trim your clip to make sure that there is none of that buffer at the beginning or the end. Okay, we put it there for editing purposes to help us be able to make clean edits. So don't make it so tight that soon as you open it, somebody starts talking. Okay, give it a second, but if there's more than a second or two, you want to trim it. Okay, and I know that some people, I'm not saying it's everybody, but some people made their news story so that they can insert an interview with somebody else. Some people made it so they can insert graphics. All of that is fine. Just know you have to do the editing for that. Now, what we are working at and what I'm trying to show you here is how to edit out the green screen. Okay? So, remember that in our project bin, there's these double arrows that have effects on them. And if we go to the video effects folder, and actually we don't even have to go to that video effects folder, but if I go and do, I have a hard time seeing, there, hang on, where's my mouse? There we go. In the keying folder, you have a few different things. And we will look at different ones, but right now, the one that you want to use, I believe, is called the Ultra Key, and I drag it onto my clip, okay? Nothing happens initially, and that's okay. But I'm going to select my clip, and up here in that source window, I have effect controls, okay? And you'll see the name of the effect, Ultra Key, and you see a few things. You see a way that you can mask, which we're not worrying about right now, and we see a key color. So if I click on this eyedropper and I come over here to the green and click on it, ta-da, that green is gone. Now, you can, right here is the setting, you can adjust that if needed, okay? But really, it should probably fix itself with that. Okay? So there it becomes, where it was green, it becomes transparent. Now, if you are going to, well, I shouldn't say if, you are going to put a background behind it. And I'm going to open Chrome real quick and say news, desk, background, and I will go to tools. Oops, actually I'm going to go to images first, then I'm going to go to tools, and I'm going to choose large. Now, you've got lots of things here, and obviously, if you look, you're already sitting at a desk, so you don't really need that desk in the background. Although, so this one right here might be a good one because it's not a desk, okay? So if I went and I right-click and do Save Image As, and I'm going to put that in my news story, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a name that makes sense. So I called it BG for background. Whoops. And then I can, file and import. And there's my background. Now the question is where do I put it? Because it needs to go, if I put it here, it's on top, right? I don't want it on top. So I need to move this video track up to V2, track number 2. Doesn't matter where the audio goes, the audio can stay there. And then I can slide in the background. And as you know, you have a couple of ways that you can adjust it. You could drag it. If you knew exactly how long it was supposed to last, you could do speed duration, etc. Now, does that look like it fits? Yeah, no. So in order to fix that, I can right-click on it and I can scale to frame size, and that makes it fit. Now, I do want to point out, it was pretty close to fitting, okay? If it's too much smaller than that, it's not going to work because it's going to be too pixelated. So you have to choose a large image. And there will be some that you don't have to do scale to frame size, okay? But that's where that is. The other thing is this. Some of y'all did your news story, and whether it was shy or just you have a quiet voice, you're not a coach that has to yell all the time, and so that's your natural tone. You have the ability down here in your audio track, you have a little line here. We could go up here into our settings or our effect controls, and we could raise the level of the volume a little bit, and part of it depends on you, okay? So if I sampled that,
the first anniversary of Ukraine's
still kind of quiet,
independence from the Soviet Union. This year,
but it raises it a little bit more. Okay, now you don't want it so loud that it sounds like you're screaming, but you don't want anybody having to struggle with what you're saying either. Okay, same thing if you find that maybe you were too loud on there, you can reduce that volume as well. Okay, those are the editing, clean edits. Okay. If you had graphics or interviews to put in, make sure you're doing that. You need to edit the